Welcome to the Oli and Danny Podcast. We're your hosts, a husband and wife team with 23 years of marriage, 2 amazing kids, and plenty of stories and wisdom to share. Every day we're here with fresh episodes tackling your letters and emails about love, relationships, and family life. From tough decisions to heartfelt dilemmas, we bring honest advice, relatable stories, and a touch of humor to help you navigate it all. So whether you're on a morning commute, taking a break, or winding down after a long day, tune in for your daily dose of real issues and real solutions. This is the Oli and Danny Podcast, where love, laughter, and life lessons come together. Welcome to the episode.
Welcome to another episode of the Oli and Danny Podcast. We have another couple in trouble.
Today we've got a letter from one of our Jane Smiths, and it says, "Dear Oli and Danny, I'm seeking advice on a situation that's causing tension in my relationship. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years, and while we have a strong bond, there's an ongoing issue between him and my mother that's becoming increasingly difficult to navigate. Recently, during a family dinner, my mother made a comment about our future plans, suggesting that we should consider settling down. She has traditional views and believes in early commitment. My boyfriend, however, felt pressured by her remark and responded that we're happy with our current pace. This led to a tense exchange with my mother implying that he's not serious about our relationship. Since then, my boyfriend has been distant during family gatherings, often finding reasons to avoid them altogether. When I try to discuss it, he expresses frustration, feeling that my mother is interfering in our relationship. On the other hand, my mother believes she's looking out for my best interests and feels slighted by his reactions. I'm caught in the middle, wanting to support my boyfriend while also respecting my mother's concerns. How can I mediate this situation and foster a better understanding between them without causing further strain on either relationship?"
I think this is a common one that most people tend to have, especially in new relationships. A prospective mother-in-law is often going to have a lot of concerns and a lot of care, at least for their child. So naturally, they're going to be looking for a lot of commitment. I can understand from your boyfriend's point of view, this is not something he might want to give. It may well be possible that you guys have discussed privately the pace of your relationship. Your mother is probably not properly read into this. So what could help is you could try speaking to your mother. Explain to her what you are looking for from your relationship, so it is perfectly clear what the expectations are from both sides. Of course, I can understand this might bring conflict between you and your mother to some degree, but at least things are clear. This often plays into boundaries because, again, you have to set some boundaries and you have to decide the path that your relationship's going to go through. I can understand, of course, if you're bringing him to dinner to your mother, this looks serious and everyone wants most likely the best for you. In my opinion, this is a good place to start, is have a conversation initially with your mother to clear things up so direction is known. Also, set some boundaries. This is probably important. So you know exactly what you're expecting from your relationship and ensuring that everyone else understands the same.
Okay, so there is quite a bit to unpack here. So let's start at the beginning. Extended family dynamics can be sometimes a little bit difficult to navigate because there are multiple people involved, sometimes with multiple perspectives, multiple expectations, and so on. But it's really important that you guys sort out any misunderstandings, miscommunications quite early on, because if everything works out in your relationship, your extended family, his extended family are what's going to act as your support network for your relationship going forward. So with that said, I think a good question to ask yourself is, are you happy with the pace of your relationship? If this isn't something that you and your boyfriend have discussed, now's a good time to discuss it. If you have discussed that prior, then maybe cluing your mum in on that is a great idea. Let her know if you want to, depending on the kind of relationship you have with your mother. If it's a close, healthy relationship, let her know what you've discussed with your partner in terms of your pace. Let her know that you're happy with that pace, because from what I'm understanding from your letter, your mum is having concerns. That would be the only reason she would raise the point of whether he's serious about the relationship, whether he wants to settle down or not. She's worried about what his intentions intentions toward you are. And that's really normal. That's very natural. Your mother obviously loves you, wants the best for you, and therefore is trying to ascertain that this guy is not going to just waltz in, take your heart and stomp on it. That's a natural parental response, I think, to uncertainty. So a good idea for you, like I said, is to clue your mom in on where you are in your relationship in terms of your happiness with its pace. That's a good place to start.
I absolutely agree. Another thing would be to ensure that you understand why your boyfriend might feel a little touchy. It could be, and this is a big it could be that indeed your mother's hunches are right and your boyfriend is just playing that out in the form of a tantrum. So this might be something you might want to look into and then try and unpack that and find out indeed what his true intentions are. And if it's something you've discussed and your mother's out of place, then of course it is your job to put your mother into place so she's clear on what you guys have discussed. So for me, I would say that will be an important check that you'd want to do, just to make sure also that your boyfriend's tantrum is in a good place. Naturally, I think if it is, you need to validate his feelings as to why he's feeling upset about it. Naturally speaking, he could genuinely be feeling a lot of pressure to commit to you very early on. So from my perspective, I would say definitely be careful with this one, because you'd want to check just to make sure his intentions are sincere. Also, consider that bringing your boyfriend home is a really big deal, especially for your parents. So maybe you have rushed it. 2 years sounds like a good time, but if you're not in the place where you, and also I'm aware this is going to be cultural, it really depends on backgrounds. I don't have that context, but I'm certainly aware that some parents might start to think that if I'm having to engage with your boyfriend, then I'm probably looking to see a little bit more commitment to decide whether I want to be invested in this whole experience. Because in heartbreaks, it's normally not just one person, it's almost everyone that cares about you. So no one wants to be invested in a scenario that's going to go sideways. So there'll probably be a lot of evaluating, and again, it would have been up to your boyfriend to present a positive picture. And also check that, make sure that this is happening, because again, if it's not happening and you know it's not happening, then you should start asking questions of yourself as well. So for me, those are, I think, the alternative perspective that maybe a lot of people won't hold, but I definitely would check that, because just so we're not being entirely unfair here to your mother, we want to make sure that also your boyfriend's sincere. But from my side, I think those are the most important things.
In my experience, people typically respond defensively if they feel attacked. Now, provided your mum didn't ask the question in a hostile way or in an accusatory fashion, and she asked the question in an open and reasonable tone, personally, I wouldn't think there would be much need for defensiveness, because that should easily be read as concern for you on your mum's part. Now, if someone is acting defensively when asked a question like that, it is quite a sensitive question. When do you think you guys might want to settle down? It's a reasonable question. It's not unreasonable at all. I would expect the answer would be, well, we're taking it slowly. We've talked about it. We've decided that we may want to get married in 3-4 years, depending on how the relationship progresses. There would be cause there for some openness. And even if marriage wasn't on the cards and you had both discussed that and you're happy with where you are and where you're possibly going, then I would expect a little bit more openness on his part rather than a defensive response. And for me, the fact that he responded defensively is concerning. I'm not going to say it's a red flag, but it is definitely of concern, and it is something that should be addressed. Him staying away from family gatherings altogether, I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit extreme, but again, depending on his takeaway from the conversation, then that's going to dictate his actions going forward. So definitely, I'm going to say the cliche that we always say on this podcast: have an open, honest conversation. And again, the blueprint for an open, honest conversation is in episode 5. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. And there I kind of outlined some of the essentials for what an open, honest conversation should entail. Definitely have one of those with him if you haven't already. If you've done so regarding the direction of your relationship, great. You may need to have another one about why your mom is asking the questions she's asking. Explain things from your mother's perspective to him. And I'm sure if he's a reasonable guy, he will understand understand where your mom is coming from, what her concerns are, and maybe he may even be able to allay those fears, provided he's in the right mental space and has the right intentions towards you to allow him to do that.
So that's all we have for you today. Again, don't forget to email us your issues, Oli and Danny Podcast 101@gmail.com. Follow us on TikTok right here, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Substack. Till the next episode, adios.
Ciao guys, we'll see you in the next one.